Fantastic. How do I do this? How do I do this? It's been a while. I forgot how I do this. Jeremy, I've heard you do this. Hi guys, I'm new to this. You know what? We'll just take it from the top. Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter. Do not adjust your dials. No one has dials anymore. Why am I even saying that? I'm back. I'm Chris Perfett. Your adequate host is back from exile for now.
And you're doing great, sweetie.
I don't even know why I'm talking right now. I'm being overwhelmed by emotion because this is a big show, and that voice right there is Jeremy Reeves-Maybin, the fearless leader, who's been never wore off that interim tag, and I really have to thank him for that because I always wanted to come back for this. I don't know how I'm back. California law doesn't really allow me to be back. Like I'm Frosty the Snowman right now.
We're smuggling you in. I'm
Frosty the Snowman right now. I melt away by the end of Christmas Eve. So let's make this work, folks. Jeremy Reeves-Maybin at Detroit Online, the fearless leader of Pride of Detroit, the guy who's been doing a lot more work than I ever will or will ever in my life.
Oh, come on.
And can I do this? Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD, who is surviving, and I'm glad to see he's alive. Hello, Ryan.
I'm so happy to see you until you become just a couple pieces of charcoal and a carrot.
It's so hot in California right now. It's so hot. I might melt before then. And now joining us, I can't believe this. I'm gonna put all my ego aside though, because we have probably one of my favorite people covering the Lions here right now, and I mean that sincerely. I love watching what this guy does. I love finding his voice, and I'm happy to be doing another podcast with him because as soon as Jeremy told me, it's like, hey, we're getting the Michael Rothstein back. I'm like, all right, I gotta come. I gotta be here for it. Michael Rothstein from ESPN. How are you doing?
That might be the kindest intro I've ever gotten ever, which maybe I think that might say more about me than you. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie though, other than the Kermit the Frog voice that I just did, for no apparent reason, I'm just picturing you just melting to sticks. Like, I don't care about the charcoal, the carrot. Like, your arms as sticks, it's not gonna go so well, man. Like,
I've turned the AC off for the recording, and it's been 5 minutes, and I'm already turning red. It is 105 right now.
To be honest, that's good on you because I have a friend in California I follow on Instagram, and as we were getting ready for the show, I was just scrolling through because what else am I going to do? And she posted something, I guess, that Southern California Edison sent out that said, hey, from the hours of 3 to 10 p.m., which this now is in my world and in your world, please keep your air conditioner at least 78 degrees. So you're doing even better by helping the environment. Good job, Chris Perfett.
I just turned off from like a constant 68 for the last 9 hours. So I mean,
my air conditioner isn't even on, but I'm also like weird like that. I like run my fans.
I also don't have central air, so I'm broke. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so this is the Pride of
Air
Detroit
conditioning podcast.
Air conditioning from Pride of Detroit.
Brought to you by Carrier.
Brought to you by HVAC.
The Earth's gonna cook into just a baked plantain one of these days, so we might as well talk about while we can. But anyway, before we turn into the global warming podcast, let's get to the Lions because Jeremy, I know you're excited. This is like Christmas for you.
Yes,
because training camp has started and you're not allowed to go.
I'm going tomorrow, Christopher. How dare you? But I was not allowed to go in day one, which is why Mike is here because he was there and is going to give us all of the background information on what happened. Isn't that right, Mike?
Sure, we can call it that. I mean, listen, I'll admit, and Jeremy will tell you, I'm usually the exact opposite because the start of training camp to me is the end of
freedom.
My. Yeah, I was gonna say the end of my ability to go like travel across the world, which you couldn't do this year due to COVID or golf or really anything, and you're working 10 to 14-hour days.
True.
So this year was different because I was actually like really. It was kind of cool to be there. It was kind of exciting. It was weird.
Yeah.
More than I would say like that. If you asked me to like, Sesame Street word of the day, this was, it was just weird because you're back. you're watching practice, but there are no fans. So it's kind of like the end of right around this time anyway this year, where fans are told you're not allowed to watch practice anymore, but the media can still watch for like another week or so. So it kind of felt like that, except for the fact that you didn't see these guys in the spring. You didn't see these guys for 2 weeks. So I'm trying to take notes, and I'm looking at like the roster, and I'm like, I don't know who these guys are. And then I'm watching them on the field, and I'm like, I don't know who this is. And guys who have longer hair, you can't see their numbers, and you don't know their hairstyle yet, so you can't tell. So I mean, my notes are like we're not awesome in some position groups today, because I just don't like DBs, defensive linemen right now are kind of like, there are too many new guys, new faces that you're like, okay, sure. Who's Daryl Roberts? Who's Tony McRae? Who's this and that? And you're just writing down numbers and you're looking it up after.
Yep.
All right, we're burying the lead here, though. I want to know, Mike, what was it like getting sandblasted with sanitizer before you could even step anywhere near Allen Park?
I mean, so I've been cool with the sanitizer since like March. I found this really nice sanitizer at the supermarket I go to that does not smell terrible.
Did they make you go through like the? They make you go through the metal detector with a sanitizer?
No, there actually is no. They don't sanitize you. So the way it works for the media, who are I'm called quote unquote 2M, which is basically if they practice inside, I can go inside because I'm getting tested for COVID every day. Basically, like players and coaches and all that. So I like on Wednesday they're off. I still have to drive to Allen Park to get the 90-second swab up my nose. Really, that's the only difference, other than if they go inside, I can go where others cannot because they're in a group called 3OA. So what happens is, what happens is for me is I get there at like 10-ish. I get a little Kinexon, like it looks like a domino chip basically, but it has like a red blinking light. If you go too close to someone else, it's a sensor that measures how far you are from someone else and how long you're in that range. And if you end up being next to someone who has a 3OA sensor, like some of the Lions media relations staff, if you're close to them for too long, their sensor will go off and beep really, really loudly.
So
really loud.
This is the Arrested Development no touching sensor.
I mean, yeah, no, you're not touching. No. I mean, the only the only thing I touched today was a bleacher. No handshaking, no fist bumping, no elbow bumping, no. Yeah. So you walk back and you walk around the side of the facility, and they have a giant trailer, kind of like a golf trailer or like a corporate trailer that you can imagine from basically any construction movie or any construction site. You walk in, you give them your name, you get a little piece of paper, they stick the thing up your nose, and then you walk out. You're done in 90 seconds, and then you can go to practice. And every morning, the next morning, you have in your mailbox a email from the company that does this saying either you are, I don't know what it does actually, if you test positive, because I've tested negative thankfully every day so far, but it's you open it up, there's a little green light, and you are clear to go on another day of practice. And you have to fill out a questionnaire before you leave your house after you take your temperature that basically says, I have not come in contact with anyone who has COVID. I have not left the country in the last 14 days, which, unfortunately I can't do, which I would like to do, but, work plus law. It just basically asks if you had any symptoms and stuff like that. And you fill it out and answer all the questions correctly. It says you're clear to then come to the facility and take your test. That is the only difference between Jeremy and I when it comes to what we will see on a day-to-day basis between now and at least August 31st.
So we're not violating Jeremy's nose is what we're saying. Not yet, at least. Okay.
We'll see.
I know we got to get to Lions. I'm just fascinated by this because I think it's been a big question for a lot of fans. Like, how is the NFL going to handle this without a bubble? And we had the funny story of Kama Siverand from the Seahawks over last week trying to smuggle a woman into the hotel, and the kid gets cut.
What player is 5'1"?
Right.
That among everything in that's my question.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm
5'1".
I'm 5'6".
if 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 the woman was 5'10", 5'11", like maybe on a small like kicker, punter, like something, right? We just don't know. But like 5'1", find me an NFL player who's 5'1", and I'll find you someone who's not an NFL player.
Yeah, like I'm like 5'6", maybe 5'7", generously, and like I have a picture of me next to Reggie Bush, and he's still got at least a head over me. Like these guys are still damn tall.
No,
But
and
you know,
Reggie's not a big dude. Like Reggie's not a
Yeah.
tall dude. Like I mean, I covered Reggie, and I'm 5'10" and a half, 5'11", somewhere in there. And I mean, I was probably a head taller, or like half a head taller than Reggie. And yeah, I mean, but Reggie's like Reggie's cut dude now.
Yeah, but it shows that like the NFL is taking this seriously. They don't want a situation where it's like the Marlins, where it's like, hey, we're going out for coffee or something, and suddenly there's a bunch of COVID tests coming back. And I mean, it's true for the media too. They want to have the media relation with, and have these guys, at least giving some sort of quotes, maybe doing the weird boom mic thing the NBA is doing even. But it's something that has to be taken seriously. It really does, because I think the margin for error for a non-bubble is already pretty thin. And for an NFL season where it's only 16 games per team and not 60, that's even thinner. So
Right, absolutely. And the thing is, so at least the Lions are doing everything virtually for now and for the foreseeable future. And personally, I'll be shocked if I see the inside of the building for anything other than potentially a practice, if there's rain or late season snow or something like that. At any point this year. That's just my gut feeling. But yeah, they are taking it seriously. And I think you've seen that too. Sure, it's training camp, so you can be locked down a little more. You're in the facility a lot more. But you're seeing it in how many positive COVID tests have we seen since that first run of COVID tests? I'm talking league wide, that when guys were first reporting for camp. What, 10? I mean, I think there's 12, like there's less than 2 dozen guys league wide on the COVID-19 reserve list right now. That's not bad. Now, as padded practices are starting, maybe that changes. I think the bigger concern is games. Once guys travel, or if they're doing a really good job, if some players start to get a little bit more lax. And then also, you have to look at states and what's going on there. Like Michigan, for example, right now, it's not really spiking here. Well, in a month and a half, when it maybe gets a little colder, and if it does come back and spike a little bit, what does that mean? So I think that's going to be a constant moving target that, every player and coach I've talked to is pretty realistic with it, in that they know COVID's going to happen. They know COVID's going to strike some team, some group of players. They just hope it's not them, but they also realize they can be as diligent as possible and still have issues, whether it's a false positive like what happened to Matthew Stafford, or guys who run into it, because that's just the nature of life and right now in the COVID world.
Yeah, and I think the fact that a lot of players are asymptomatic, we heard TJ Hawkinson talk about it today, and how it was a complete surprise to him that he tested positive. Wouldn't be surprised to have that come up with any sort of NFL player throughout this season. But I do want to switch kind of gears here and talk about day one of training camp, because I know since we've all waited all this time to hear any sort of Lions news, we want to basically rip all the meat off the bone here, even if it was just 90 minutes of practice. So my first question, and it's kind of an interesting one, because we heard Matt Patricia talk about the balance that they have to kind of strike. Like, regular season's less than 4 weeks away, but you don't want to rush into major contact and risk injury. So based on your observations of day one, where are they in that process? Did they kind of like go high intensity right away with the first padded practice, or was this a little bit more subdued than you would normally see on day one of training camp?
I thought the pace was pretty good. They actually went under an hour and a half. I think they went like an hour 15, something like that. Although when the media was ushered out, there was still a little bit of practice going on. So I think maybe there was a false start to the end of practice. But I thought the pace was good. There wasn't a lot of hitting. There wasn't much big collisions. The biggest thing I noticed was think it was Danny Shelton and Jonah Jackson, the rookie from Ohio State / Rutgers. They definitely had a couple contact incidences, and Jonah Jackson, they both fell to the ground, and that's obviously not something you want to see from big guys on day one. But I thought it was a good paced practice. To me, it didn't. And I'm sure other reporters probably feel differently. I didn't think it was that different, other than the time of it, than a normal practice I would have watched around this time of training camp. Now, I think they're going to increase time each day because they can increase by 15 minutes every day. But I think they'll increase the intensity too. And Matt Patricia, like you said, was talking about it, where you don't want to go too hard too early because you don't want to hurt guys.
Right.
And we saw Gerald McCoy got hurt today. He's out for the year that in Dallas. But you don't want to hit too close to the regular season. So I think that like next week, that's my guess, is going to be that big hitting week. Maybe next week into like a few days, maybe, if we're not allowed to watch practice anymore because that cutoff hasn't been determined yet. Where maybe they'll have a couple days without the media there for the whole practice. And then I think probably like 10 days before the start of the season, certainly 3 or 4 days before cuts, you're probably going to dial back and back off from hitting every day and kind of go from there. It's going to be an interesting dynamic and an interesting balance. Just one of the many, many things that teams around the NFL have to figure out and think about that they're not really used to. And I think we all know that the NFL coaches are not always the most adaptable sort. And I think that this is going to be really challenging for them. And I think the coaches that can adapt best are going to be the ones that really maybe thrive in this atmosphere. And it's going to be really intriguing and really interesting to see how that goes. I do wonder if that will favor younger head coaches who haven't been as set in their ways for as long. But that's just a pure hypothesis and speculation.
Ryan, you want to go ahead? I was going to pass it to Ryan for the next question if you want to.
Ryan,
take one.
Oh, go ahead, Chris. Take it.
Okay. How generous. I think the big story I've seen kind of when people kind of doing the Kremlinology on training camp, which is always something I'm always kind of a little interested in when we're just, taking where guys are being placed in the chairs of first team and second team. We did see Jeff Okudah with the second team, which it seems to have caused some people to raise their eyebrows, but I mean, we're just not putting the first rounders' feet to the fire now, right?
I mean, it's day one. The guy had no spring. He's learning the toughest position on the defense. And by the way, he still went up against Kenny Golladay in one-on-one individuals. So he's still learning. It's not like he's going up against Victor Bolden every rep of every practice. And Victor Bolden, by the way, had a great catch today, but that's neither here nor there. Jeff Okudah, I said it on my own podcast, which is coming out tomorrow. So a little sneak preview that if 10 days from now, Jeff Okudah is still kind of on the second team fully, that means one of two things. Either they're going to take him really slowly, or Amani Oruwariye is playing really, really well. And I think that Amani Oruwariye could play really well, and it might not matter. It would not shock me if you see both Oruwariye and Okudah in week 1, even week 2, play some. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Okudah didn't get every corner snap in really the first quarter of the season, because you look at this, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, right? But you look at the receivers he might face in the first quarter of the season, depending whether they decide to travel Desmond Trufant or not. If they don't, he could see Allen Robinson, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas. Well, good luck. I mean, like seriously. I mean, and if I'm an opposing offensive coordinator, I am working to try and match that up as much as possible, because I want to challenge the young guy versus the guy who was a Pro Bowler. So I'm not worried. That's a long answer for saying I'm not worried yet about Jeff Okudah. I thought he at points looked really good. He didn't look out of place, except on one rep against Kenny Golladay. That was very much, I think, a welcome to camp moment. Kenny Golladay basically corkscrewed him.
To be fair, that'll happen when you go up against Kenny Golladay when you're a rookie.
Absolutely, and especially on your first day of practice, one of your first reps in individuals and one-on-ones in a full padded practice. But Jeff Okudah is going to be a good player. I feel very confident saying that from every person I've talked to, but he's going to have ups and downs this year, especially as a corner, and people just need to recognize that and understand that and not get down on him because he has a bad game or 2 or 3. Like, he might be not good this first month of the season, but you then look at the receivers that he might have faced and the quarterbacks he might face as well, Kyler and Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and whatever they're going to do in Chicago. And I mean, that's 3 of those 4 would be mildly concerning, and then whatever they do in Chicago. But Nick Foles, if Nick Foles starts, Nick Foles is not bad. He's Super Bowl MVP, and I mean, Mitchell Trubisky seems to like playing the Lions. Like,
okay.
he's really good against the Lions and really bad against everyone else. So that's a lot. Again, I think it's just going to be really interesting, but it's day one. Do not panic about Jeff Okudah yet. Do not panic that DeAndre Swift barely got any work. Like, don't worry about any of that. If a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, when the media leaves practice for good and we can only see stretching the rest of the year, if Jeff Okudah, DeAndre Swift haven't gotten significant time by then and worked their way into the rotation, then you have reason to maybe be concerned.
Yeah, and September is going to be basically a preseason anyway, since we didn't have one.
It'll be something like, I think it will be more like that than you've ever seen it before. I think it would not shock me if you see rotations. I actually asked Matt Patricia whether they're going to consider doing the offensive line rotation again. That is like, Jeremy can tell you, because I think like that is, I asked about that almost every week last year, and after almost every time I asked it after that press conference, I just was like, why?
You and everyone in Detroit, like, I'm sure our chat right now is just going to like start throwing up in the fact that you even mentioned it. But yeah, Patricia
he didn't rule it out, though.
Yeah.
You heard him. You were on the call. He did not rule out doing the rotation.
Oh no, he said
this year I would understand it if they did it this year. If they started Kenny Wiggins and then worked Jonah Jackson and Logan Stenberg in, like, for the first few weeks of the season, and he said, "Listen, this is what we're doing. We're trying. We trust all these guys." Etc. I'd be like, you know what? This makes sense, because you drafted Jonah Jackson and Logan Stenberg to eventually take over. You didn't have the time. So this is getting them worked in without potentially being, turnstile too bad, like going against Akeem Hicks potentially in week 1.
right.
Like, Kenny Wiggins at least has faced Akeem Hicks before, but that, I mean, and maybe we're going to get to this, I'm sure we will. Jonah Jackson being in with the first team on day 1, to me, says they want Jonah Jackson to really win this job.
Yeah, and you led directly into our next question, which was going to be about Jonah Jackson, because who doesn't want to talk more about rookies and their first impression with you? Let's talk about Jonah Jackson, and at least let's talk about how you thought he fared in his first day, because, going up against Danny Shelton, Deshaun Hand, not necessarily elite talents, but certainly no scrubs either. So what were your thoughts on him getting those first team reps, and even I heard a little work at center as well?
Yeah, some backup center action for Jonah Jackson. I feel like they're maybe trying to turn him into Kenny Wiggins and Joe Dahl, at least from that versatility perspective, or the departed to Denver Graham Glasgow. To me, it's tough to grade offensive line play to begin with, because I mean, I'm 5'11", I think it was 181 pounds. Like, I was a bouncer at a bar in college, but I was never the size of an offensive lineman. And I just never played the position ever in any sort of way, even in like sandlot ball or nothing. Right. So I can't, that's like one of my weaknesses when it comes to covering football. I don't totally grasp it. So I rely on the opinions of others. And that's going to be hard to get, really, I think, until the season starts. That said, I thought he did okay. I did not really watch the individual offensive lineman versus defensive lineman drill, which is actually my favorite drill today, because I was paying some attention to 7-on-7 with what they were doing with Okudah and what Stafford looked like. But he did, I didn't see him, other than the 2 reps I talked about earlier, where he kind of got tangled up and fell to the ground. And I don't know whether that was a defensive lineman forcing the issue, or his feet got crossed out, whatever it may be, big guys fall. To me, that, I'm sure he did okay. I didn't have him in my notebook as being like, oh, you gave up a clear sack, which, I mean, that was a commonplace thing that I'd be writing the last few years in my notebook during training camp was, oh, nope, that guy would have, Stafford would have been sacked there. Chase Daniel would have been sacked there. But they didn't do a ton of teamwork that would have relied on that yet.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see as the week goes on and maybe they get into some of those third and long, like places where Stafford's going to have to hold the ball a little bit more, how he fares there. So I think he did okay. I mean, again, I look at it more as Matt Patricia can say it's a rotation all he wants. Matt Patricia knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
The fact that they're sending him, I mean, I think they said that about Taylor. Well, I mean, this was before Matt Patricia's time, but if I remember correctly, I think they said that about Taylor Decker and Jared Davis too, that they were rotating those guys in. Like, no, man, you're throwing, if you're putting a guy out there the first day that the media is watching, you're doing it for a reason,
Right.
because you can schedule that rotation of days however the heck you want, and you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, like, you're doing it for one of two reasons. Either you're planning on him winning the job, or you're sending a message to your vets saying, hey, he's going to get every shot to win the job. To me, it's one of those two things. I don't think he's won the job yet, but I think that I know I said a few times they want him to. That much to me is clear, and that was clear, I think, from when they drafted him and from the way Matt Patricia talked about him today. Praising his ability to transition and looking at the move from Rutgers to Ohio State, which in some ways, I mean, Rutgers fans won't like me saying this, is a jump in level.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, so Mr. Rothstein, so in addition
Please
to
don't ever call me
Well, if you met
Okay,
him as a
all right.
bouncer, probably.
I was gonna say, so bouncer Rothstein. The next thing that I wanted to have you kind of give us a perspective of is we've talked a little bit about rookies and things like that, but what about some of the other guys, just in terms of players who stand out, maybe some of the surprises from day one, in terms of maybe guys playing with, getting first team reps that you wouldn't expect getting first team reps, or guys kind of showing out. You mentioned, Victor Bolden having a nice catch or something like that, and anything that can kind of, like Jeremy said at the top, take some meat off this bone.
Yeah, I mean, Victor Bolden, like I said, had a nice catch. He had a nice catch in individuals too. The catch I'm talking about was in the team period. He basically cut back and caught a ball in the end zone, like on the sideline, falling out of bounds. It was and the coverage was great. Frankly, the usual suspects that you would think, or that you would hope if you were a Lions fan, performed well, did perform well. Matthew Stafford looked incredibly sharp. He had a couple of miscues. One that should have probably been picked in the end zone, threw it basically right at Desmond Trufant. But he had a couple of throws that looked like mid-season Matthew Stafford. One to Kenny Golladay in the end zone that really Justin Coleman was like right over him, right? And like Stafford threw it the one place that like only Golladay could get it and Coleman couldn't because of Galladay's ability to high point the ball and height advantage in the back of the end zone. And he threw it right where Galladay could get his feet down and fall out of bounds for a touchdown. And he had another throw to Marvin Jones where Marvin Jones was basically like falling almost and caught the ball. That was, I think, more even Marvin Jones's ability than Stafford. But I thought Matthew Stafford on the whole looked pretty good. I wanted to see him throw. That was I know other people weren't necessarily as concerned about that. I needed to see that on day one because I have heard for time immemorial, oh, guy's healthy, guy's great. Sure, he's going to be fine. And then you're like, well, look, he's on PUP. Like, right. So seeing Matthew Stafford throw and seeing him look as sharp as he did, to me says, okay, I think you're in a good spot there. The other guys that look good, Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, they both look like they're ready to go. Neither one is surprising. Kenny Golladay for now is in a contract year. We'll see how long that's still a contract year. Marvin Jones is in a contract year. I think Marvin Jones is going to have a big year because he's in a contract year. And frankly, this is probably his last chance at really getting to cash in because he's hit that 30-year-old threshold. So they both look very ready to go. And they looked really, really sharp on day one. And those were really the guys that stood out to me on offense. And like I said, defensively, it was a little bit tricky just because so many of the defensive backs I don't know yet because there's so many new faces there, and same on the defensive line too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because there's so many new faces on the defensive side of the ball, all the Patriots imports and things like that. But the one other guy that I wanted to ask you about was Jamal Agnew. Did you get a chance to see him? Was he taking reps with the wide receivers?
I didn't see him do much of anything.
Okay.
Now that doesn't mean that he didn't, because a lot of times when like the third team is going, trying to catch up or look at something else or take a
Sure,
break or whatever. Because in years past also we've had much longer time in camp. So like watching those third string guys on the first few days of camp just has never been something that's of a ton of value. But I didn't see him do much. He was lined up with the other returners during the one kind of special teams period, that punt period that they had. Jason Huntley, Jamal Agnew, Danny Amendola, Tom Kennedy were the guys back there. I still think it's an Agnew versus Huntley battle for those two jobs, with Amendola being the safety option in like, hey, don't be an idiot situations. Like, don't test it.
Yeah.
You all know what we're talking about. Like, hey,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're gonna, like you're gonna need to make a decision whether fair catch this or let it bounce. Like, we're gonna trust Danny Amendola because he's got 18, 19, whatever years in the league. So yeah, I didn't notice much of Agnew today, but he's on my list of guys kind of towards the end of the week to kind of figure out where he's at, because I think he's a guy. I still think his ticket to making this team is beating out Jason Huntley for the return jobs. And if he doesn't, I think he's very much at risk for maybe not being on the team. And since there is some flexibility with practice squad, if you think you can sneak him through, you put him on the practice squad. But his versatility is really enticing in a COVID world where, in a pinch, if all of a sudden you're down 4 corners or 3 corners because of COVID on a Sunday morning, you at least can put him in and he knows what he's doing, versus, maybe a practice squad guy who's never been in that situation.
I know we're running a little long on our first segment.
Yeah.
I got one more thing I want to ask you about, because Matt Patricia spoke.
I do too. But yeah.
Matt Patricia spoke very highly of this guy, and maybe kind of a dark horse candidate to make an impact on defense. But let's talk a little bit about Jalen Reeves-Maybin, because Matt Patricia, likes to give praise to some players, but he usually keeps it pretty calm. I thought he was kind of over the top with his praise with Jalen Reeves-Maybin, saying, he's really impressed with his special teams, but he also made a couple plays today. I was wondering if you ended up seeing any of those big plays, because I know a couple of the other beat guys mentioned it in their recaps, and I don't think a lot of people had Jalen Reeves-Maybin really on their radar in this linebacking core this year.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't see those plays that he made specifically.
Sure.
But I did notice him in the special teams period, and he's still going to always, I don't want to say always, because guys can, Tyre Whitehead's a perfect example, in kind of years 3, 4, 5, moved from being a pure special teams player to a starting middle linebacker. But to me, Jalen Reeves-Maybin is maybe their best special teams player, or second best special teams player. Matt Prater aside and Don Muehlbach aside, right? Like, I'm talking about like coverage guys. I think he's fantastic there. So I still think, like I was talking about with Jamal Agnew, special teams is how Jalen Reeves-Maybin makes this team. But if he can show he can be valuable on defense, that to me makes – I don't know where they put him defensively, though. Like, I don't think he'll beat out Christian Jones for that job, because they love Christian Jones, right? And you're not going to – and they brought Jamie Collins in for a reason, so he's not beating out Jamie Collins. He doesn't play in the middle, so you're not putting him in the Tavai bucket or the Jared Davis bucket. And he's not going to play the edge rusher, so you're not going to put him in that Julian Okwara, maybe Jared Davis, whatever bucket. So where is he? He's in that Christian Jones area. So maybe he ends up being Christian Jones's backup. But I think that maybe it was where he might be slotted to begin with. I'm trying to remember my 53-man roster that I predicted before camp started. Because let's be honest, every day is a week here.
Yep.
But I mean, I think I had him on the team or close to it because of that special teams ability.
Yeah.
And it does not surprise me that he's making plays that he made a couple plays on defense. Now that I'm thinking about it, I did see one of the plays that was fairly impressive. I believe it was a pass breakup. I'm trying to remember who it was on. But he's always done that. I mean, I feel like he's done that in camps prior too, and I think he's done that somewhat intermittently when he's gotten the opportunity in games. It's just that he hasn't necessarily gotten that opportunity in a game yet. I always felt he was a talented player. It's just a matter of him getting that chance, and maybe that gets him that chance. Maybe he gets that chance this year, but I'm not exactly sure where that comes immediately defensively, unless they have injuries, because of the guys they've brought in and the guys they've signed to larger deals ahead of them.
Okay, real quick, time is, as you say, time is warped and completely stopped. We're way over, but hey, we have all the time in the world from Michael Rothstein here. One last question for you, and that comes from the TJ Hawkinson presser. Are you buying into Dagger time? I do want to ask this because it is funny because damn it. I'm trying not to be awkward here, but I'm just thinking because I do understand why they're trying to focus on high intensity situations, because there were a lot of, before Stafford went out, there were still a lot of one score games that were just that fell apart near the end for the Lions. And I get it. That's kind of how they, we, for several years now, the Lions have kind of walked this thin razor's edge on these one score games, which is, most NFL games are within one score almost by design. So, do you buy, I don't know. What do you think on Dagger time?
So when I first heard it, and I posted this on Twitter, but when I first heard it, and maybe this shows my age, I immediately thought of Too Legit to Quit and MC Hammer, and just going back and forth and stop, hammer time. That's what I thought of when they said Dagger time, and I just couldn't stop internally laughing.
At least you went there. At least you went there and not Chelsea Dagger, because that's where I went first, and I rolled my eyes at that.
No, I went to hammer time, but again, I'm almost 40, so MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice were very much my 11, 12-year-old self. And I know you guys like karaoke on here, and I will say that I have done both MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice and karaoke.
Yes! Wait.
No,
hold on.
Gonna happen.
No. Before, do you know that Kyle Kasky did a rendition of Ice Ice Baby acoustically on our karaoke night?
I did not know that, but I am very happy that you told me.
You have to ask him.
You'll have to ask him. Yeah, definitely ask him about it.
Absolutely come up at some point, because Ice Ice Baby is actually my favorite karaoke song to do. But yeah, listen, if it motivates them, good for them. I've never been a slogan guy in that form or fashion, but listen, it works. Remember, I can't even going to bring this up because people roll their eyes, but Jerome Bettis is one for the thought. There's different guys and different teams that use motivation differently, and if that works for them and they can buy into it and have fun with it, then good for them. If it doesn't work, then it does lend itself to a lot of jokes.
Hey, it worked for the.
This is going way off tangent here, right? But Marvel had a series called Cloak and Dagger. It lasted a couple of seasons. If you type in Dagger time for GIFs on Twitter, there are so many Cloak and Dagger ones, and I was just no one will get that unless you watch that show. But there's it's leaving themselves ripe for mocking, but if it works for them, I say go for it. And at the end of the day, it's big business, but this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be a game. This is supposed to be entertainment. And if they can have fun with it and bring some levity to long days in camp and a long season where they're beating themselves up and their bodies are getting tossed around, so be it. Have fun with it. And, cool. Just make a song out of it or something. I don't know.
Better than tech.
Go. I can't wait. Honestly, the fact that Stafford coined this, I am actually excited to ask Matthew Stafford about this, just because I don't know if he will answer something sarcastic and not answer the question, or if he will go into an entire soliloquy about this. Because right now, the Matthew Stafford we're getting on Zoom calls is really one or the other.
I think he's going to deny it. I think he's going to say, "Nah, I didn't come with that." He doesn't want to sound fun. He never wants to sound fun.
It's QB speak, yeah.
I don't know. I think he's gotten way better with that over the past. I think Matthew Stafford 3 years ago would absolutely have not said that. Matthew Stafford now, I think he will. I think he will cop to it, and I think he will basically like explain where. Well, actually, no, I don't think he'll explain where it comes from. I think that's a step too far for him. But I think it's gonna come up, like, and I think he'll admit it. I think it'll be because, like, I mean, it's gonna get asked about to like every offensive player probably in some form or fashion over the next few weeks. Like, it just is, because it's something new and different that isn't speculative. Because let's be real, everything we talked about over the last 40 minutes or so is all speculation. It's all speculative. We won't know anything until now, with no preseason, probably, it's what, September 29th, September 30th is their fourth game, something like that. Or third game. Like, we won't really know anything, and probably until that after that Arizona game. So sure, let's have fun with it, man. Like, let's roll. I'm all about like goofy stuff and like people having fun with stuff, like especially in training camp and preseason. Like, it's sometimes it gets way too serious. Like, if I hear one more guy say I'm in the best shape of my life, I'm just gonna be like, nah, bro. Like,
oh, well, there goes our TJ Hawkinson question.
Well, all right. You can find him on Twitter at Mike Rothstein. He's the host of the Michael Rothstein Show. He's on ESPN all the time. He is our guy, Michael Rothstein. Mike, thanks for being on, man. We love having you here. But we're going to do it again because I think you want to stick around.
I'll stick around. I'll stick around for another segment. I mean, yeah, I've done with my work for the day. Are you kidding?
I'm going to try to resist asking you all bouncer stories at this point, because I'm trying to buy that you were a bouncer still.
I only have one good one. I mean,
you also make like the fifth person I've worked with in sports media who was a bouncer. Like,
I was probably the thinnest of all of them. So okay, so I worked at a bar called Darwin's that unfortunately no longer exists at Syracuse. I still have the T-shirt 20 years later, 19 years later, and so I was working one day in happy hour, and these two guys I was actually had taken classes with, they were both in Newhouse. They were both bigger dudes, like way bigger than me. And pretty much they were playing pool, and as they're wont to do at 4 p.m, because college, they got into it over pool, and they're like going at each other. So I slip in between the two of them, and I'm literally like this, like squish up. Like, you can picture like the cartoons, you've seen it when like two big dudes are like trying to squish the little dude. And I'm like in the middle of them being like, hey guys, like, I know both of you, calm down. I'll buy you both a beer. Let's chill the hell out, because both of you can kill me down and squash me dead. Like, let's just hang out here. And thankfully they listened, and cooler heads prevailed, and I took care of them, and we moved on with our day. But that is my favorite bouncer story from my time working as a bouncer for a little over a semester and a half. I unceremoniously lost that job because I had met with a newspaper at a job fair that night before my shift, and they said they wanted to interview me the next day. And I went in and said, hey, listen, I can't work until 4 a.m. I have a job interview at like 9 a.m. and I can't do this. And then like 2 days later, I walked in for my next shift, and they're like, hey, so I have to let you go. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, this was like 4 weeks left of school. So I was like, they were like, so we'll see you in a couple hours, like on the other side of the bar. And I was like, yep, you will. And we moved on from there.
All right. Well, we'll get into more of that. Let's take a break here, because I know Twitch chat is like chomping at the bit right now, and I need to put in some markers for the sound. But stick around. More with Rothstein here, and I think Jeremy, I think Jeremy's allowing me to do a monologue here on the Detroit Lions Groundhog Day, pretty much. So we're gonna do that when we come back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. I'm happy to be doing this again, man. I just am. Like, I'm a ball of emotions right now. So we'll be right back.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. That went long, so I'll put in some pauses in there, Jeremy. I'll put in some breaks in there, but
all right,
that's fine. No, that's totally fine, Mike. That's totally fine. I didn't realize you were sticking around too, but
I told Jeremy I was going to kind of play it out, see how it goes.
Okay.
And yeah, are we running now? Like, can this be seen by?
Well, yes, it can be seen live, but it will not be on our podcast.
Okay. Well, something on CNN I am not allowed to maybe talk about starts in like 10 minutes, but
okay, you want to watch that? I'm burying my head myself.
But I want to do this and hang around for a little bit longer, and then when that's done, I will I will switch on over and pay some attention to that.
Okay.
Well, I was just thinking, so Jeremy, I was just thinking because we've got Mike here, we can include him in that B block topic. And since we don't really have much of a mailbag, then I can move up my monologue to the start of this one. I go like maybe 8 minutes on it, and then we switch over to storylines, pressing questions.
Wait, you're talking about the top of B block?
Yes.
Okay.
Technically, we're in C block now. I'm going to chop up that first one into 2 blocks.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
No, you're totally fine.
No. Totally fine. Totally fine. Nothing to apologize for. Yeah, we didn't want to interrupt anything there. So
let me catch up on Twitch alerts really quick. Nick Coscarelli kicked things off with his Prime sub for 17 months now. He says TJ got buff. Can we love him again? I never stopped loving him. We're going to talk a little bit about him in the next segment too, because one of us here doesn't love him, I don't think, and we need to confront him.
You're gonna okay. Thank you to Uncle Indigo for giving me the gift sub. By the way,
yes.
That was me at Lucha Dungeon. I was cutting some costs this month, so I pick up Amazon Prime basically when I need a bunch of crap shipped and then cancel it when I don't. So I don't have a Prime sub to give this month. So thank you.
And then I had to slip on this T-shirt. I was trying to find a non-awkward time to slip on the T-shirt.
I was going to say, everyone was demanding the T-shirt.
Yeah. Well, so who spent the 8,000 channel points to do it? I missed it. Oh, it was LJ. Yeah, I had to put on my Mozzarella Sticks T-shirt.
Yeah. We're still, by the way, we're still working out everything from the charity stream. I think, Jeremy, you're getting. So I think what we're going to do for me, because I know I was going to do the haikus, yes. I'm going to be doing them during podcasts during the year. Just like before a segment starts, you'll hear some just soothing music and then me reading the haiku about a Lions player.
Yes. And hold on.
Oh, jeez. I was like cashed out for a second and I just heard that. Is there a place I can see this Kyle Kasky Ice Ice Baby thing?
No,
I think
I can't.
Didn't want the replay.
He told us to delete the video on demand because he didn't want, ornery fans to come and be like, you should be teaching the players, what are you doing wasting your time? That being said, I do have a hard copy in my possession, so maybe. I don't know. We'll have to talk it over. But yeah, we currently have 6 people with haiku requests.
Okay.
So you're going to be busy.
We might open that up later. Yeah, well, that's only 6. I was expecting more.
I don't know if I'm going to stick around for that
now. No, that won't be this week. There are also 2 people that redeemed podcast appearances, so those will be coming in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, we got to figure those out too. Hopefully before the season.
By the way, can you just plug my pod too at some point?
Yes, absolutely. I think I mentioned it before the end of that segment, but we'll mention it when we come back with you as well. Absolutely. Cool. Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm done with my between segments.
Notes. Yeah, I'm pulling up my notes for Calvin Johnson.
Are you going to do that now, or are you going to do that?
So you want me to do that at the end, or do you want me to do that? Because I figure like we go in and have fun with Rothstein here for like the question. So what we were planning originally, Rothstein, is like storylines and pressing questions from where the season, that training camp I think is like pushed into our minds right now. I know, Jeremy alluded to one of them right now.
Basically, like our 3 concerns or questions that we have about the team, essentially.
Listen, we can just roll with it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. I just wanted to do the CJ one just because, I feel awkward throwing it at the very end, but it's up to you, Jeremy.
Well, how about you record it at the very end and then put it in the top of the B segment?
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
We'll have Rothstein. We'll go through our 3 concerns, let Rothstein go, and then record the Calvin Johnson thing.
You know what? Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. We'll do that. So the
switch. You don't want me to talk about Calvin Johnson?
I mean, if you want to, go ahead. I don't know. It's just kind of. I think it's more just letting Chris rant for one last time about a topic that's been beaten to death.
That's fair. That's fair enough. I mean, listen, they just need. I have no. I mean, I've said it publicly, so I have no problem saying it here. Like, just pay the man his money and like.
Be done with it.
You're a $1 billion organization quabbling over $1 million. Like, come on.
Yeah. Mine was more just like I just want to address kind of the weird fan rage and kind of where that comes from as far as like because I see it in other places. I mean, funny enough, Italian soccer is going to come up because I'm a fucking just weirdo like that. But I've been wanting to do a couple monologues because it's been 8 months without me here, and B, like, I don't know. I got to build clippings somehow without people like yelling at me about. Oh, did Ryan have to bounce?
Did he say something in the Slack? Because
I know he said he had to bounce for mailbag.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's out.
I didn't see anything in the DM.
Rock and roll. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize he was up against it. So, Jeremy, you want to read his? You can read his thing too, because I know he was worried about defense. But
yeah,
we might as well get to it. All right, let's go. Rearrange. You got to rearrange your Twitch.
I'm good.
Okay, you're good. Okay.
Yep.
I'll pull up my stopwatch. Sorry, Ryan, if you're still watching. A heel. And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit POD-cast. Ryan had to bounce here real quick, but we're just continuing on with Michael Rothstein. Once again, the Michael Rothstein podcast, the Michael Rothstein show, excuse me, on Apple, Spotify, wherever you can find podcasts, along with this one, the Pride of Detroit POD-cast on Spotify, Apple, so on and so forth, here, there, everywhere. Michael Rothstein also from ESPN, but you knew that. I would hope you know that. If you don't, then we have questions for you. Mike, so I want to talk to you right now, and we got Jeremy here as well, because we're going to talk about, we've got questions now. This is question time. It's weird because I feel like the sports calendar is kind of in an arrested development, like the rest of 2020, because we've got the NBA playoffs on like a quadruple header today as we're recording, and it's August and there's no preseason. So I think storylines are going to start smacking us in the face real fast. So I want to open up to you guys, like the one storyline, the one pressing question we have so far. And then we're going to go around and each of us can say whether or not we feel that concern is justified, or if we feel that we're maybe overreacting and just playing preseason doomsday quarterback.
Yeah.
Overreaction. Yeah. Reaction or overreaction. Yeah. It's schlocky, but that's like my entire shtick is being schlocky. So we're going to roll with it. So, Jeremy, did you want to go first? You want me to go first? Or
I can go first.
Okay. Yeah, you go first.
It'll be an easy topic because we alluded to it a little bit before. My biggest question, and while I think, there are probably more pressing questions on the defensive side of the ball, the one that I'm a little most perplexed about, at least with the way the lines appear to be approaching it, is the offensive line. We talked about how they had Jonah Jackson in at right guard today. I think it was Joe Dahl at left guard. But according to Patricia, they've been rotating that through walkthroughs. They've basically had Ode Ibushi in there, Kenny Wiggins in there. I guess my concern right now is like, you got 4 weeks. You need to get settled on a lineup, and we know this team isn't necessarily married to that idea of settling a lineup. Of he said today like he's not necessarily committed to not doing the guard rotation this year. But to me, like you got to go in with a plan, and maybe it's not the plan that you stick with if someone is improving or impressing unexpectedly in training camp, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here in this offensive line. There's at least 2 new starting jobs, maybe even a third one, depending on what the Lions decide to do at left guard. And so I want to see these guys get as many reps together as possible, at least the guys you plan on starting in week 1. And so the fact that they're kind of dilly-dallying again with the guards and things like that, and I understand it's early in camp. This is basically your first time you're getting to evaluate these players, and so you're just evaluating at this point. But this was a concern I had going into training camp, and based on what I've heard from day one, this isn't something that's necessarily going to go away, to me at least.
Yeah, I would say I don't know if I would say it's a little bit of an overreaction just because it's so early.
Yeah.
If it's still 10 days from now, and one day it's Kenny Wiggins, one day it's Ode Ibushi, one day it's Logan Stenberg, one day it's Jonah Jackson, then I think you have legitimate concern. I think this first week, if they do this, fine. I mean, you're figuring it out. You're probably not hitting intensely. You still have 3 weeks. And if it is Kenny Wiggins or Ode Abuche. Like if that's the way you decide to go, both of them have massive amounts of experience with Frank Ragnow. Kenny Wiggins more than Ode Abuche, so you don't have to worry about it quite as much. And Kenny Wiggins obviously has experience at left guard too, and could, so he has experience with Decker. So that is not, I think, as big of an issue. But I think it's one of those, like, 10 days from now, it could be a very serious problem that you're wondering about. But right now, I think that's an overreaction just because Matt Patricia can say all he wants. It's going to be this too, right? But they could put Kenny Wiggins in tomorrow, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's all Jonah Jackson. And, well, there's your answer.
Yeah.
Like, so I think it's a way overreaction today.
But I mean, the other factor though is like, yeah, they're experienced with Frank Ragnow, but they got a new guy at right tackle too. So there needs to be at least a little bit of a warming period with Halapuli Vaitai as well.
I think
I'm more impressed we got that out.
I've been practicing. What do you think I've been doing all quarantine? Just saying Halapuli Vaitai in the mirror for 20 minutes a day.
Listen, man, you want to get those Samoan names right. I did like several reporting with some Samoan people, and like I found it kind of alarming how many people were just throwing up their hands about the name, and it just I don't know. I appreciate the effort. I'll just say that.
No,
Jeremy.
I do too. He said on his introductory call he was cool by going with Hal and Big H. So
Hal is
Big V.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hal actually sounds cool. Makes me think of like.
So if he's gonna do that just for brevity's sake, then I'm gonna go with that. But yeah, I mean, if that is what he prefers to be called, I'm gonna call him by his name. I mean, Jeremy was around Tahir Whitehead for years.
Yeah.
Everyone was pronouncing his name wrong.
Tahir instead of Tahir.
And he just never said anything.
Yeah.
Until like his last year or second to last year in Detroit.
Mike,
that was so like that was me. I sat down with like the Anoa'i family who like runs a bunch of pro wrestling in SoCal. Like Roman Reigns is part of the family. That's I was sitting down with Rikishi, and I think I said Manti Te'o's name wrong because I think I just did it wrong there, Teo. But like that's exactly it. Forever everyone's saying Manti Te'o, and I don't know if I'm even doing it right. I'm sweating now. I'm sweating, expecting you to jump in here and yell at me. No, I think Jeremy, as far as your point about the offensive line, I think concern's a little justified just because. I mean, at the end of the day, my other concern, it's not the one I had written down, is just keeping Stafford upright at the end of the day. So, I'm not saying that, the first plan needs to be the final plan, but I would like to see, hopefully, that this line gets set eventually, and then just it works, experiment where you can. But again, you don't have a preseason to figure it out.
Mike, can I change your world in an instant? Regarding Halapuli Vaitai?
Yeah.
Shout out to Michael Kist of Bleeding Green Nation, the Eagles SB Nation blog. He tipped me to this fact. The fact that you can say his name to play that funky music, White Boy, made it incredibly easy.
Oh no.
Halapuli Vaitai. That's it. You'll never say it wrong again.
Parody songs are coming from the fans. I want that. Pride of the Detroit community. I know you guys do good things. Come on.
That I'm never gonna forget that now. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You solved that for me.
Wow. All right. My concern is with one particular guy. I don't even know if it's a concern. I just think it's a storyline to keep an eye on, is just TJ Hawkinson. This is kind of the year once again of the tight ends in the news, with George Kittle getting broke off. And I know they were asking Hawkinson about that, Iowa tight ends, things of that nature. The ankle doesn't concern me too much because, I mean, show me a football player that hasn't had injuries. But at the same time, I think he does need to be a big part of this offense coming up, and just the way that the NFL has been going for a while. The amazing thing, kind of looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, it's not even the wide receivers stand out, but you want to break off Kittle, and that's what it was. And Hawkinson, I think fans got a little restless in the first year with Hawkinson. I kind of understand why. I kind of understand that he needs time to grow. I wish Ryan didn't need to duck out, because Ryan had prime bait on the timeline this week about, double standard between Hawkinson and a name that we can't say.
Oops.
Look at you.
I only
Look
said
at
it
you.
once. It's not like he's gonna appear. We got 2 more.
No, but it's
Or
I
he'll
don't worry
jump in
about
our
him
Twitter
appearing.
timeline.
I'm more about the Twitter timeline turning into just incoherent screeching. But I think Hawkinson, this is kind of the year where, you were drafted first, and we talked about that you didn't have a lot of time to just wait on him because it's another first round tight end. So, I mean, I do want to see him more involved with the offense this year. I do. I want to see him more involved. I mean, not just in the offense, but as a receiving threat. Am I putting too much on him?
I mean, yes and no. Like, in terms of fan perception, I think this is a make or break year. Like, if he doesn't have at least 500 yards receiving, the boo birds, the bust birds are going to come out for sure from the fan base.
Thankfully, we're not going to have that in Ford Field this year. Oh.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, I think people will start drawing the Ebron comparison quite heavily. I said his name again. But yeah,
One more time, Jeremy.
I won't say it again. But yeah, I think in terms of that, like fan perception, this is a big year for him. I don't necessarily think it has to be that kind of year for him. I think he also needs to be kind of a more well-rounded guy. We saw him kind of beef up in the upper body, so maybe he's kind of preparing for a blocking role, and the Lions definitely drafted him to be that kind of two-way guy. A lot of people thought he was very good at that in Iowa, and we didn't really see a lot of that in his rookie year. But I'm with you as well. Like, you draft a guy 8th overall, you obviously want him to be a big part of your offense, and that includes catching a lot of passes. If it doesn't happen this year, does that mean it won't happen? I don't think so. I'm very high on the guy based on what I saw in training camp last year, and even in dabbles of throughout the regular season. But it's definitely an important year for him, and I think there's a lot of expectations for him.
I'm gonna live in the overreaction bubble again. In that, rookie tight ends have always struggled. Whether it is Tony Gonzalez, who even in just 11 games, TJ Hawkinson had comparable numbers to what Tony Gonzalez had, to Eric Ebron.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Who, listen, Eric Ebron, for as much as people like to bag on him, like, he wasn't bad. He just struggled with some catching issues, but everyone knew that coming out of North Carolina, and it was more a product of who was taken directly after him and the needs that they had versus him. I think if he had gone 20th, and the Lions picked there, I don't think they nearly would have. Like, if he had gone and said where Noah Fant went, right? I don't think there'd be nearly the issue. So I think you're going to see potentially that second year from TJ Hawkinson. I think he was starting to slowly find it again when he got hurt on Thanksgiving, because I think the biggest problem for TJ Hawkinson last year wasn't the injuries. It wasn't being a rookie. It was his first game of the season. That was the biggest problem for him from a perception standpoint, because people saw that and were like, oh my God, he's amazing. He's really good. But like any rookie, like we were talking about with Okudah before, it's going to be in moderation. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. And once you lost Matthew Stafford, forget about it. I mean, you're asking a rookie tight end to make up for that. I mean, really, who's the guy on the offense last year that played well in spite, even with Jeff Driscoll / David Blau? There's one guy. Two, if you want to include Danny Amendola, but there's one guy in Kenny Golladay. And I don't count Bo Scarborough, because Bo Scarborough wasn't around when Stafford was around, right? Like, and he was kind of a break glass in case of emergency pickup off of the, he was hanging out in IMG Academy working out. So I think you're going to see a lot from TJ Hawkinson, and I'm not concerned about that yet, because I think that Darrell Bevel knows how he wants to use him in the offense, and I have no concerns there. Right now, I think he's going to have a big year. But again, like I was saying a little bit ago, it's all speculation until we see a game. But I thought he looked good today. And beyond that, the fact that he was very open of like, yeah, like, I think it's 100%, but I still feel it, so it's not today, shows me he's aware enough with what's going on in his body that he's going to be smart about it and really be aggressive in taking care of it, but also not putting himself in a position to re-injure it, like, other than something, football.
All right, Mike, it's your turn. Where's your fear lying right now?
Oh, I mean, mine's the layup, right? Like it's punter. No, although in truth, I do think that's an issue. But no, mine is obviously pass rush. That was the biggest issue to me at the end of throughout last season. That was the biggest issue at the end of last season. Don't think the Lions did a lot to improve in that area in the offseason. And it's still my biggest issue now. I obviously getting Romeo Okwara back helps off of NFI when they get Austin Bryant back from PUP. If they get Austin Bryant back from PUP, that theoretically will also help, but we also don't know what Austin Bryant can or can't do. And I look at it and I'm like, well, you're putting a lot of bank on Julian Okwara,
right,
who was ticketed to maybe be a first-round guy before he got hurt. So I think that you maybe have potential there, but you're putting a lot on Trey Flowers and you're putting a lot on a guy in Nick Williams who had 6 sacks in his career. They all came last year and he's 30. Like you're expecting him to magically have found this bubble or this fountain of talent, where I look at it and generally my gut would be like, you go with the mean, right? Like, and you go when you regress to the mean. So if he goes and regresses to the mean, even if he doesn't have 0 sacks like he had in the first few years of his career, maybe he only has 2 or 3. So then where are you getting that internal pressure from? Probably Deshaun Ham, but he couldn't stay healthy last year, and you hope he stays healthy this year because he does have that talent. Danny Shelton's not a pass rush guy. So where's that interior pressure coming from? We all know that Matt Patricia really likes to get the pressure from the inside, and then that's where like guys like Trey Flowers and Romeo Okwara and Jamie Collins and Julian Okwara clean up those sacks. Well, I look at that middle of that defense and that defensive tackle spot. I think that's their weakest spot in their team. Their second weakest spot is at defensive end. Those are 2 major concern positions for me, and I haven't seen a single way that they're going to get better yet. And you look at the market right now, there's one guy out there, 1 or 2 guys out there that really can make a difference, but I don't think they're going to spend for either one of those guys. So to me, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, well, if you still can't get pass rush, that's when the Jeff Okudah problems come in. That's where Desmond Trufant problems maybe come in. And that's where your whole defense really starts to struggle and fall apart. And I think you're banking too much maybe on Jamie Collins being able to do some of that too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone has kind of been beating that same drum, and yeah, I think you're right. I'm just saying you're right. Like, because I feel like there's a certain subsection of Lions fans that are optimistic about everything, and every little change is a positive change. But like any sort of like positive spin you try to put on the Lions pass rush in 2020, it feels like grasping at straws. It feels like, oh, well, Deshaun Hand is back and healthy, but you're like, okay, but for how long? And how much do we even know that Deshaun Hand is really that good? I mean, he had a good string of games his rookie year, but that was 2 years ago. He has a lot to kind of overcome. And Nick Williams is the other source of interior pressure where you're hopeful, but like you said, 1 good year and he's 30. You go to the second level, you're talking about Julian Okwara having a big impact. I'm sorry. Fan perception of rookies always tends to outperform the actual performance of the rookie. Expecting a guy like him to come in and get 8 sacks in his rookie year is unrealistic. And then I think the other piece of the puzzle is, as you kind of mentioned at the end there, Jamie Collins. Like, to me, that's the closest thing to optimism you can get, because then having a reliable linebacker that can drop back in coverage, that can run defend, it does free up some of your other guys like Jared Davis. And I don't think Jared Davis is going to be this edge rusher that everyone wants him to be, but I do think he's going to be freed up to rush the passer a little bit more. And that's where I think the Lions might get a little more pressure. They might get a little more aggressive than they were in years past, because they were one of the least blitzing teams in the NFL last year. I do think Jamie Collins gives them a little more versatility, a little more security blanket to maybe dial up the blitzes a little more, even though Matt Patricia hasn't shown that that's something he loves to do. But again, all of these things just feel like I'm grasping at straws. They feel like big, well, if this happens, and none of them feel particularly strong in terms of the odds that any of those things happen. So I'm 100% with you. Pass rush still remains maybe the biggest concern of this team overall.
No, I'm there. I'm totally there. I've been banging this for a while, and they keep refusing to draft on the edge rush. So I'm a creature of panic and disgust. So absolutely, right there, you hit it on the head. Michael Rothstein, everyone.
Yeah, it's really like the Packers just deciding, hey, look, wide receiver, maybe need one of those. It's the deepest wide receiver draft in history. well, we're gonna drop 2 running backs instead. I mean, like, not like what do you? And then Devin Funchess opts out. Like, I'm
Yeah.
high on Alan Lazard, by the way. Not to go out, I'm
Yeah.
really high on Alan Lazard, but like, address the defensive line.
Yeah,
Just address it. Like handle it. Besides Trey Flowers, like you're putting a lot of pressure on Trey Flowers.
Yep.
I think we should wrap it there. All right, at Mike Rothstein. Once again, check out the Michael Rothstein Show wherever you can find podcasts because he's awesome. We love having him on, Mike. We're gonna have a fun season here, and hope to see you again before it's all said and done. And yeah, I want more bouncer stories next time. I'm fascinated now.
I might have to go.
I guarantee you, there has to be like 40% of everyone who works in sports media apparently at one point worked as a bouncer. Because I work with at least 2 of them over at the radio.
I mean, that's a small sample size you're working from. I'm friends with a lot of people in sports media, and I'm the only one I know of. So
maybe I was never good with stats.
anytime
Jeremy will tell you.
blast,
Jeremy's the stats guy.
Yeah, this is a blast. Thanks for having me, and hopefully your audience on Twitch and on the podcast got something from it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that wraps up here. Yep. Thank you, Mike. Let me drop in a quick, just kind of generic end there.
Sure.
So, all right. And then we'll go back and we'll do my, I want your reaction to what I'm about to say too. I don't want this to be just me monologue. Like I want to do a monologue, but I also want you kind of like at the end. So
I got you.
to be, if you don't mind.
No, I got you.
My recorder is kind of fucking up a little bit and suddenly is capping at -9 on my personal one. I want to save whatever I'm about to do for the clippings. So,
okay.
Anyway, let's do the outro though.
Okay.
Twitch, stick around. We're not done here. Mike's awesome. We're awesome. Jeremy, I can't believe we figured out how to bring me back. I don't know what's going to happen this year. I don't even know if we're going to have a full damn season. Me coming back might curse the whole damn thing. But
yeah, you'll be the reason they don't have an NFL season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just that's the way it works, man. We're hexing the moon. I'm hexing the season. That's how it is. Thank you all for listening to Pride of Detroit PODcast. What have you've been doing something different while I've been gone? It's like you've been saying it's chaos, be kind.
Yes, sir.
Why is it chaos?
This is me gesturing to everything right
Please
now.
do it for the do it for the podcast. Yeah. I guess that's been that way for years, man. I don't know. Either
this
way,
bad?
Jeremy, just here, you say it and I'll say mine. Let's be schlocky.
Christopher, it's chaos. Be kind.
Jeremy, see you Starside. All right. Oh, man, that almost brought a tear to my eye. Damn. All right. If you guys don't mind, we're going to do a monologue here. Although, why is my recorder once again? Hold on, I need to stop Audition and like probably reload it because now it's like capping me at like -9 for some reason.
Really quick, Nick the Greek, thank you for 5 months and the 5 bits and your semi-inappropriate commentary throughout the last segment.
I was gonna say, this is the wrong week. We're gonna have Jerry Mallory on if you want to talk about this.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Oh, and yeah, Detroit coming in with the full year. 12 months. You've now entered the very rare club of year subscribers. I think we only have about 2 or 3.
Ooh.
Well done. Thank you for your support. Yeah, Detroit. Appreciate it.
Out some shit right now. So yeah, no, we're gonna have some fun this year, and I mean the fact that we're all playing Fall Guy has been great.
I was gonna, because someone in chat asked if Rothstein plays Fall Guys. I can almost guarantee you that he doesn't, but he is a gamer, so I was almost gonna ask him about it. But we obviously ran long with everything.
Probably,
so
I doubt he plays on PC. So and
No.
I know it's not like
I know
cross-platform.
he's more of a he plays Madden and I think he plays 2K. I think those are his 2 games.
Well, those are always good ones to do. It's funny enough because I know I know at least 2 guys through Fox Sports Radio part-time who are like big streamers. Ryan Hollins, who I know used to play in the NBA, and I know he's he does like a bunch of streaming now. I think he even had like Snoop join him in a Madden game.
Really? Sorry,
Yeah, just randomly. He didn't even know it was Snoop Dogg when he joined him. So that was just hilarious. So, but what's going on? Why are you making doe eyes?
I accidentally opened Discord when I was trying to open something else.
Oh well.
Nick, thanks for the 54 bits, and then Uncle and Dingo, thank you for the 50 bits. It's a bit off.
Say that again. Uncle what?
Uncle. Listen, he asked. I know it says Uncle and Indigo, but he asks that I now call him Uncle and Dingo because I pronounced it wrong a couple times, and now he is forever Uncle and Dingo.
Okay. This is what I get for being away. I miss all the inside jokes. No, we're gonna have fun stuff for the season. I know Jeremy and I we've been talking behind the scenes about what season coverage is gonna look like here, starting in about a month. We're setting some high goals for ourselves. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
We'll see. We'll see what
you're gonna see. Yeah. We're gonna see what survives the splat against the wall. We might see some new faces in here. We have people to include in the POD cast before long. We have haikus to do. And we have to ride this crazy bomb all the way down until we all die.
Which may not be as long as you think.
I think the NFL will power through. I wasn't on for the show. I wasn't on for the show you guys did where you were expecting skepticism. I do think the NFL is shameless enough that it'll go right through. It doesn't care. I do think they're doing it better than the MLB too.
Sorry, the bit off is continuing right now. Nick the Greek gave 200 bits, then Uncle and Dingo followed with another 150, and they
oh
have
my God, we got a hype train.
Accidentally started a hype train.
Oh no!
Or as popular streamers call it, a scam train to get you to donate more things.
My light bill needs to be paid. What's going on with my lights?
No, I think you're fine. Nick the Greek comes with
I was curious.
300 bits. And Detroit comes in with 200 bits.
Oh no.
LJ with 200 bits.
We just hit level 2?
We did.
No.
What is happening? This is why I love Twitch. It's just like for no good reason. There's just like a donation off.
Level 1 complete. Yeah, I know like politics is happening. Yeah, you know how it was always for a long time, like really wonky people in media would be like, "Oh, is sports ball happening?
Yeah.
Is sporps happening?"
Sporps.
I feel happy doing it, being on the other foot. Where it's like now talking about sports is probably the most normal thing you could do right now. Is a politic happening? Politiball.
Nick, 500 bits from Nick. He's now the number one tipper, I believe.
What is a bit?
A bit is a penny, essentially. Oh, Uncle and Dingo with 1,000 bits. Nick is getting angry. Why can't I see the top? The hype train is in the way of me seeing the top tippers at the moment. But guys, appreciate all the support. You guys are ridiculous. How often will you be doing these? Every night, every Monday? So Go Play 9, we've been doing them every Monday. Last year, during the season, we did one. So in the season, we'll be doing them Sunday nights. The full podcast.
And I think we're gonna do an extended podcast this year. I mean, not podcast, but extended Twitch on Sundays, right, Jeremy?
We'll see. We're still kind of working out the details. We're thinking about doing like a quick post-game show. I don't want to overpromise here. But if we can get it all together, we want to do like a 30-minute post-game show and then a full podcast at the end of the night. And then in season, we also always do our First Bite podcast, which is us kind of talking with the opponent, the upcoming opponent, so that we can talk about matchups and get kind of a preview podcast of sorts up. So,
and just to hit on bigger Lions topics have been happening through the week too, because usually those Sunday ones, those are just reactions to the games themselves, and kind of like,
So we'll move back to Sundays. Don't you worry, LJ. We'll be doing at least 2 podcasts, maybe an additional Twitch. There's even talk about something else that I don't even want to say because we're just working on it. We need to get prepared for the season because it's coming up in less than 4 weeks, and that's blowing my mind because I'm not ready. But yeah.
The other problem too for me is that I also work overnights until Sunday morning. I work from like 10 p.m. Saturday until 8 a.m.
Right.
Pacific time. So technically that's like 11 a.m. Eastern. And when I get back, I usually crash pretty hard. I had to be going off. Some very kind soul gave me Game Pass. I'll probably re-up for this year, but I intend to try to be here and watch like the entire Lions game itself, which means more of this stuff, which means more of this coffee right here, which means I'm probably getting a damn French press. But it is one of my promises to Jeremy. Like one of the conditions of me coming back is I'm not going to just be a zombie and phone it in. So. Which, fair. That's my normal way of doing everything.
Yeah.
I'm also going to try to put myself down less this year.
There.
It's kind of...
You're off to a bad start.
I know. But it's like natural for me because I ball bust everyone. I ball bust myself. But people are saying like, hey, yeah, it's now in vogue to be like aggressively confident about yourself. And I'm like, really? I don't know. I don't know about that.
Clicking the wrong thing. Whoops.
Are we about to go to level 3? You guys have 1 minute.
You do have 1 minute for the scam train. 14% more. I don't know what that.
Yeah, we'll see where this goes before I do my monologue.
But yeah, LJ, that's awesome. Congrats on winning that silent auction. You'll have to send some sort of picture or something. We'd love to see.
Yeah.
100 bits from LJ. We're at 92%.
Oh no.
Nick the Greek is giving you a demand to.
I'm getting a demand?
There's a demand for you in the chat that I don't care to.
Okay.
200 bits from Detroit pushes us over.
There it is. Okay. I know someone has been in my replies for a long time asking me about. I think it is Nick the Greek about.
It's 100% him.
Okay. I think I've said it before last time I came on here, but let me try to do this again. And I'm not sure why this thing suddenly capped at -9 after a bunch of usage. Probably because of the background noise. Probably going to turn off my AC again. You ready for this, Jeremy?
Sure.
Matt Patricia's breasts.
Oh, God. My ears just threw up. The way you said that.
That is impossible, Jeremy. Your ears cannot throw up. That's not how it works.
Why did you have to say it like that?
Matt Patricia's breasts.
I'm taking my headset off. No. Stop it.
Maybach music.
Jeez. 1,000 bits from Nick the Greek lives up to his promise.
And apparently I got an emote from him for it, so thank you. I don't even know what the emote is.
I don't understand what that is. Oh, God.
You guys can clip that.
Please don't.
All right. Let me go turn off this AC again. I needed that. I was starting to turn like lobster red while we were talking with Rob.
I saw you run. You were
like
dying.
I thought, earlier in the day, I had it off for a couple hours. I'm like, I'm fine. And then I forgot, like, afternoon in the valley is when this place cooks. So let me go turn this off real quick.
All right. Then we'll get to our Calvin Johnson stuff and get out of here. Thank you again, everybody, for the support. That I know still technically there's a level 3 thing happening. Not going to pressure you to get into level 4, but we're 45% away with 3 minutes left. But all the support, I can't even count the bits that they were there. It's probably close to the 3,000 there. So actually, I think we went over that. So thank you. No, stop it. Nick, no. You're fine. Twitch keeps crashing. No. Listen. Any support you guys give, whether it's either I'm just being here, or maybe you're watching on YouTube because we're on YouTube now, and I know a lot of this dilly-dallying in between segments is probably weird watching recorded on YouTube, but we appreciate any support that we get, whether it's views, comments, bits, donations, subs, meatball subs, whatever.
OnlyFans.
We're not quite on OnlyFans or Cameo yet, but listen, if there's no season, we might get desperate. So
yeah, we would
keep an eye out.
I was already desperate. People kept saying I should start an OnlyFans. Been dragging my feet like everything. That'll get started along the same time I start. Apparently, the new big thing is newsletters, Jeremy.
Newsletters?
Yeah, newsletters. Everyone's on Substack now, sending out their newsletters. It's like the
Ew.
new podcast.
There's nothing I want less than a newsletter.
It's just literally like a blog, except it shows up in your email.
Yeah, no, I hate email. I don't. The difference between like me getting actual mail and an email has completely swapped from 10 years ago. Whereas like 10 years ago, you were like, ooh, an email. Oh, I got something in the mail. Throw that shit right in the trash. Now it's the opposite. It's like, oh, I got an email. Ugh, it's probably some annoyed.
Well,
It's probably someone either asking for a Pride of Detroit job or it's some company promoting like, oh, it's Pepperoni Day. Get your $5 Hungry Howie's flavored crust. Or it's,
Jeremy, I don't know if you've seen the news, but there's no regular mail anymore either.
there is, but that's the thing. Like now, if I get regular mail, it's even more special. And now that the USPS is dying, it's even more special.
No mail. No mail for you.
Do I not? I thought I put the donation link under our channel. Didn't I do that? I thought I did that earlier in the week.
No, there is the donate buttons.
Oh,
Just
there is one.
Streamlabs, Pride of Detroit. Yeah, it's
Okay,
there.
it's still there. It is there.
Yeah. We also have the Discord link, and we are going to be firing up the Discord more and more for the season. I know I'm in charge of that, so I do want to have more people in our Discord.
True. LJ, thanks for the 100 bits. Nick the Greek, thanks for the 101 bits. That's 74% with 20 seconds. Scam train.
Tell you what. By the way, do you mind if I read?
90. Oh, there it is.
I forgot to do this during the podcast, but can I retweet myself into Pride Detroit?
Sure, go for it. 690 bits from Detroit pushes us just over into level 4. You guys are ridiculous. Thank you for the support.
Holy crap, man. Let's just go with this then. Let's just go with this and see what happens and see where the hype train goes while we're monologuing
All right,
about Groundhog Day, the Lions version of Groundhog Day.
Do you want to kick that? Are we waiting for the hype train to die, or you want to go right into it? Jesus Christ!
What do you think? You're the Twitch master here.
I don't even know.
Fearless leader, Twitch master Flash.
Uncle and Dingo with the 500 bits, followed by 416 bits, not quite 420 from Nick the Greek.
Right?
You came up 4 short, Nick. LJ with 100. I think we have to just wait out this hype train before you get into it. There's his extra.
Monologue, but we're gonna see where the hype train goes.
Those 4 extra bits came in from Nick to make it 420, and then Uncle and Dingo comes in with another 15. Woo! Halfway now through level 4 with 51%. I got you, Nick. I can do math. You're all done now. You're fine. You've done plenty. What was that one? Oh, that was just Nick's. Your wife would yell at you. Hey, we don't need you to have a divorce lawyer. Because who divorce lawyers the divorce lawyers?
Yeah, that's when family court turns to hell. I've been listening to a lot of legal podcasts while I've been...
Your wife is a divorce lawyer, too.
Oh, no, it's divorce lawyer all the way down.
You are a married divorce lawyer family. Oh my God, guys, settle down. 420 from Uncle and Dingo.
You know what? That's probably the best way to live then, because like you guys all know how to work it out when it does finally go off the rails, if it goes off the rails, and you're probably reticent of that, and that's probably more inspiration to keep it together.
I mean, yeah. Plus, you guys probably have a kick-ass. What do you call those things? The contract, the marriage contract things. What do you call those? Prenup. You guys have a sick prenup, I bet.
Maybe it's just a death pledge, man.
Maybe. 202 bits from Danny Yori, and then what is that? 500 from LJ, and we've officially eclipsed level 4. I don't even know if there's a level after this. You guys are ridiculous, guys.
I've seen it. I think what was it? Glad had like a hype train going for like 3 days.
Danny Yori with 600 bits, guys. What's going? Were you guys just hoarding these bits? Are you just like collecting them in your basement,
Jeremy's
ready for the
Armageddon?
I've never seen this. We have never had this many bits in this channel, and I mean, probably got to be like close to 5,000 or something. You guys are ridiculous.
Something like that.
I can't do math. Guys,
we
there is a level
do this,
5.
though.
Okay, yeah. All right. If you guys
There
want to
is-
continue to give bits, you can. I'm not going to stop you, but we're going to get into our rant here, so I'm going to thank you all at the end if you give more bits.
Please, before I start roasting again.
Okay.
I turned off the AC. All right. Give me a second. Well, to celebrate me coming back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, which is what you're listening to right now, we'll continue with Mike Rothstein in a second. But right now, me and Jeremy, I want to talk to Jeremy about something. I want to talk to you about something that's been happening while I've been gone, while there's been, actually just been happening this week. Because let me just say this, 2020 is the year of the Groundhog Day. Everything repeats. Everything seems to go very slowly. Time doesn't move forward. I think this is the result of, I believe about a month or two ago, some Wiccans on, I believe, TikTok hexed the moon. And since then, everything's been kind of just repeating. It won't stop. And very appropriately, the Lions finally hit their Groundhog Day. And what do I mean by that is that Calvin Johnson once again came back up, and the Discord has begun once again. Calvin Johnson was interviewed by David Burkett of the Free Press. It was a great interview. You should go check it out if you can. I know it might be behind a paywall. He still has a relationship with the wide receivers coach. I learned that, he's been talking with Galladay, Marvin Jones. A lot of talk in there about his work ethic and why he ended up eventually hanging it up. I know one of the quotes I heard from there is like, he never wanted to look back and say he still had something in the tank, but just at the end of the day, when it was time for him to hang him up, he just couldn't grind like he used to. And that was why he never wanted to say he had something in the tank. And when you can't put everything out there on the field, that creates that kind of just strain in yourself. Calvin Johnson isn't really the story here, although he is still the story at the end of the day. But the story always becomes, in our very self-absorbed sports fan culture these days, about the fans themselves, and in particular about the fan rage about Calvin Johnson. Even before Calvin Johnson announced his retirement, I saw a lot of fans who were just very angry at the very idea that Calvin Johnson could retire. The Lions fans almost started walking through their stages of grief beforehand, and it kind of hit an enraged acceptance. And I saw people saying, as they were waiting through his silence, that he should just do it right now and go away. Well, the problem was he did go away, and then we found out that he just wasn't paid by the Lions, that he missed out on some bonuses that created some strife. And that is completely acceptable. I don't think anyone listening here would I would accept that kind of thing. I certainly wouldn't. I've worked many jobs throughout my life. I've worked some carpentry jobs. I've been stiffed a couple times. And I don't think there's ever been a situation where I can say that ever became a relationship that got mended. Money does weird things to us, especially when in this age, in the 21st century, where everyone is a little desperate. And it seems weird to say that about a few $1 million, but that's just what it is. It's a relationship of scale when it comes to football players. But I am more concerned, and I'm more fascinated by where the fan rage comes from these days. It's almost overwhelming what happens. I know Jeremy will bring you in here soon, but I know you talked on it. I know Ryan has talked on it. And we've seen that as soon as you mention Calvin Johnson's name, there are two immediate reactions. One is go away, or two, stop whining about your money. And it seems to be it is an animus at the end of the day. And it brings me into something I've been thinking about in 2020, what kind of motivates a lot of our culture these days, and it's a demon of inconvenience. Comfortable Americans, which includes most sports fans, are affected by this demon. Our tolerance varies, but at the end of the day, once that demon is triggered, it's an awful, ugly thing. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It can range from anything being told that you now need to wear a mask before you go into a grocery store, to you maybe being delayed from going to your work by some protesters on a freeway. And it can come from the fact that in the news, something is just irritating you. A story keeps coming up and it doesn't go away. because it just hasn't been resolved. And stories rarely do get resolved. Our minds are set up to accept beginning, middle, end, but that's not how real life works at the end of the day. Stories continue on and on and on and on and on until eventually everyone's dead. That's a grim way to look at it. But in this case with Calvin Johnson, the demon of irritation, the demon of inconvenience comes by the fact that Calvin Johnson is being sought out for his words, as he should be. The man is going to be going into the Hall of Fame very soon. But it is impossible when talking to him to not talk about where his relationship is with the Lions. And when Calvin Johnson talks about his relationship with the Lions, it's hard to just say he shouldn't talk about that. But this is also a trope that goes on all the time in sports. Teams screw up with stars all the time. Not every divorce is clean. It might be standardized in American sports. I know for me, I watch a lot of Italian soccer. My team I root for is Roma in the city of Rome, in Serie A, in Italian soccer, whose god for the longest time was a man named Francesco Totti, who I believe the producer from The Young Pope is making like a mini series on him. Totti is legendary. I would encourage you, I think on SB Nation, Zito, I forget his last name, excuse me, wrote a story about Totti and how it sounds like a Greek myth, how Totti came to play for Roma. But the end of the relationship for Totti has been frosty. He, I believe, has said it several times. He would not come and play and, have a relationship with with Roma. He ended a 30-year association with them over the owner, James Pallotta, for not involving him in decision-making. And now Roma has a new owner. We'll see if they're able to mend it. But I remember watching Totti's last game. People were weeping in the Stadio Olimpico. He was you should go watch it on YouTube. Find Totti's last game as he is marching slowly across the track in one of the most storied places in Italy for sport, and watching people weep, just watching them weep. And yet even that should have been where the story ends, but it continues on. It continues on, and the relationship sours because there's something in the background. There's something always behind the scenes. And haven't we seen this year, Jeremy? We've seen it with, The Last Dance, where suddenly the Bulls, their run with Michael Jordan, all that dirt was laid out on the table. And suddenly we learned to hate new people. We learned to hate the general manager. We learned to have opinions about Jordan, about guys leaving, about Scottie Pippen. And it's the same thing going on here with Calvin Johnson at the end of the day. People want a resolution, and there's just not one coming. And when there's not a resolution coming, our mind reacts and we get angry. And I just wonder when it will end for fans to stop being angry about Calvin Johnson. I don't know if ever, to be honest. And it's just going to have to be one of those things. Eventually, time heals all wounds. Time fades them. And then you have something like Barry Sanders, where we romanticize the Lions' relationship with Barry Sanders. And that was from a different time before we had social media, social media does amplify those negative emotions constantly. It is a great concern for a lot of us on what social media does to our psyche. So will it bend for Calvin Johnson? I don't know, but I will say this. We're probably in for another Groundhog Day in 2021. That's all I've got. Yeah. That's my word.
I mean, the thing about it coming up again this week with that Dave Burkett interview is just like, it's super ridiculous, right? Because people are like, oh, why is he whining again? And it's like, okay, well, clearly you aren't behind the Free Press paywall, because if you listen to that interview, here's the entire interaction. Dave Burkett, hey, what's your relationship with the Lions? I would say non-existent. They're doing what they want to do. I'm doing what I want to do. It's fine. That's it. That's not him saying, oh my God, I want my $1 million back. I mean, there's none of that. He didn't even mention wanting, the Lions to repay essentially the signing bonus that he repaid to them. He doesn't mention any of that. It's just like, you know what? I'm cool with it. None of it. They haven't reached out to me. I haven't reached out to them. The end. Like, that's it. Like, there's really no story there. When I wrote about that story, the story I wrote about it was Calvin Johnson met with Lions receivers because I felt that was something that a lot of Lions fans held against Calvin Johnson because he went to Miami Dolphins camp. He went to the Oakland Raiders camp, and everyone's like, he's helping out these other guys, and he can't just mend fences and meet with Lions players. Well, guess what? He met with Lions players because, as you mentioned, he had a relationship with running backs or wide receivers coach Robert Prince. Yeah. And so he went out, he reached out, he crossed the river of discontent between the two sides and did something good for the team. Now it's not going to make the Lions extremely better or anything like that, but he went out and did something, and everything else is just kind of standard in place. And so my whole view on the fans' reaction to all of this is it's really, really simple. If you disagree with Calvin Johnson asking for his $1 million back or however much it is, that's fine. Like, I understand the Lions it was Bob Quinn's first year. He was doing what he thought was best for the team, saving a little money in cap room, whatever. And if you think he's not entitled to that money because he quit, that's fine. That's your opinion. It's not one I agree with, but I at least understand it. Now, if you're one of the guys that's like, he's a quitter, he was never that good, he didn't try his hardest, he didn't give everything he got in Detroit, and somehow trying to whitewash his career into saying that he wasn't nearly as good as we all give him credit for, that's where you can fuck all the way off. Like, I'm sorry. Like, no. You're wrong.
Yeah,
the guy was dragging himself out of bed, barely able to lift his feet off the ground by the time he retired in Detroit, and he put in 9 hell of years that we won't ever see again from a Lions wide receiver. So you can just shut up. He was fantastic while he was on the field. If you have any issue with what Calvin Johnson did on the field for 9 years of this program, then you will never be satisfied.
Yeah, I don't want to relitigate how it ended. I think we know by now what the story is with how Calvin Johnson ended. And he even said as much. I even brought it up at the start there. Like, he just wasn't comfortable not giving 100%. And when your body can't give 100%, there's no other option for you. I find it fascinating that we kind of have this mythologized idea about how a star ends with a team, right?
Yeah.
Be it with Toddy, be it with Jeter, be it with Peyton Manning, that this is how you're supposed to go out. You play for a given team. I mean, I know Peyton, it was for the Broncos, but whatever. Right. But it's like you play. There's a mythology on how you're supposed to go out that fans have for if you are a player for that team for your career, and that is with grace, with dignity, thanking the fans, and then vanishing into obscurity. And Calvin Johnson, because of what happened and because of things that are just, reality is never ideal. It's just not at the end of the day. And that's what we're at. We're at with fans mad that it wasn't the fairy book ending for one reason or another. Because they're mad, they felt that Calvin Johnson is somehow directly responsible for the Lions not winning as many games. And that's all fans these days seem to be reacting to, is that we want the team to be better and to win games. It's not about the individual players you're a fan of anymore. It is the brand. It's the old adage, right? It's the name on the front, not the name on the back. And I think we should give more respect to that name on the back, because these are human at the end of the day, and human is not perfect. And you need to look at that demon and inconvenience I talk about, and you need to smack it off. You have to realize that not everything is going to revolve around you at the end of the day. I'm simplifying it here, but when you get mad that you feel like your own personal enjoyment is being stomped on, you need to take a step back. You need to examine what those other people are feeling in these situations, and you need to just maybe laugh it off. And that's where we're at. We'll be right back. More with Mike Rothstein after this on the Pride of Detroit PODcast.
Chris, can I make a pitch?
Yeah, what's up?
Let's make this. Can we make this like a bonus track or like a secret track at the end of the podcast?
Do you want it at the end of the podcast?
I'm starting to think like it would be kind of funny to like. We have our normal podcast. We go Rothstein for 2 segments on training camp, 1 segment on our biggest concerns. We play the ending and then just like a record scratch, then we go into like the Rage Corner theme. And it's just like
I don't feel
know.
like I was raging, but yeah, no, I kind of feel you there. Like we should. Okay, let me since we're sitting here, I'll record a new intro here. You ready?
Yeah.
So I'll just say like, okay. Oh, you thought we were done? No. We're going long here because I haven't seen Jeremy in forever, and I want to rant with him about one thing here that happened during this week. Thanks again to Michael Rothstein, but we've got to touch on this.
Beautiful.
Okay, good. I like it.
I know this is going to be one of your most edited podcasts. But
no, it's been a minute. I don't care. I'm gonna go. I have nothing else to do tonight, and I think the last NBA game is in the second quarter, so they'll watch that here. But I mean, I'm just making some. It's a good night for some cool Japanese food because, like, holy crap, it is so hot. But no, I'll work. I don't care. It's easy enough stuff to edit. It's not like I'm. Where it gets weird is when I have to like fix audio.
Hold on. I have to say hello to our new incoming guest because Luis Ruvi rated us with 25, our second rave from the Ruvi family in the past week. Only this time we're still live. You just caught us at the end again. But Luis Ruvi, appreciate the party of 25.
You lost it just as we've gotten that rant done.
Luis, what?
I feel like we have to recap something.
What were you streaming tonight? I was watching a little bit of your wife's hairdressing stream, which was interesting. I had never seen one of those. But I hope you guys had fun. Were you doing a cooking stream?
Ooh, cooking stream.
You guys come from the cooking streams, and thank you for the 14 bits. GS Cookie and El Gnad. Appreciate you guys. I love the Ruvi family and the good old eggs over there, as they call them. Appreciate you guys dropping by. Another 14 from, who was that last one from? Oh no, we got them both. If you're just joining us, we're a Detroit Lions stream. I know a lot of you are sports brawl people, and I don't hold that against you. But we typically do a podcast every Monday night around this time. It's very loosey goosey. We talk between segments with our Twitch chat because it's also an audio podcast, and it would be kind of weird to have conversations with Twitch chat on the audio. Oh, no worries, Luis. I thank you for following. Now, what were you doing on your stream today? Were you cooking?
You know, we can probably thank that hype train because we took like a 10-minute break just to cover the hype train.
True.
We would be done by now.
We would
if it wasn't for the hype train.
Hannah, thank you for the 14 bits as well. Ooh, a dry aged. Oh, he did Wagyu beef. Ooh, I might have to check the VOD on that.
Oh my god.
Chris, you got to check out the Ruvi family. So Miss Ruvi on Twitch and
I'm a cook.
Luis
I'm a
Ruvi.
cook myself, and I love Japanese food. So you tell me Wagyu, I'm right there for you. I'm gonna go turn this AC back on.
Oh, nice. Was it technically a stream snipe, or was it just someone sent to you and you made it? I kind of want to just talk about your stream now because we're kind of done here. Oh, I know you know the Ruvies very well. I know you from their chat. 270 bits from Danny Yori. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm pulling up Ruvies. I'm just gonna follow him right now. Just add
absolutely.
Him.
Yeah, and
I see that food there, man.
We want to hear your takes on other Detroit sports media personalities. Hey, Miss Ruby, you stopped by too. I hope your hair turned out good. That was a fun stream. You and your hairdresser. You guys are kind of a couple of characters. But yeah, in case you are coming from Miss Ruby's streams or Luis Ruby's stream, we are a Detroit Lions blog. We do play some games. We're currently obsessed with Fall Guys, so you'll probably see a Fall Guys stream or two in the next week or so. My friend, he's over there, Chris Perfett. He is the host of our podcast. I can say that again. It feels good to say it again. He had been banished by California labor laws for the first half of the year, but this was his, as I like to say very, very often, this was his triumphant return.
No, you have to save that for the writing, and I think I might try to write something at some point. I don't know. So we were just talking about newsletters earlier, Jeremy. I'm struggling to get mine off the ground. But yeah, no, hi. I'm Chris. Jeremy's the master here. I'm just along for the ride. I do overnight radio and podcasts, and as they say, this is my passion. So
There you go.
I'm glad we've married this thing to Twitch. It's probably the best idea we've had is to marry PODcast to the Twitch.
It's
just
great.
Because, like,
I mean,
it's been fantastic. You guys are awesome.
Twitch community is maybe the best online community I've found. We used to do these on Facebook Live, and while we got a ton more viewers on Facebook Live because there's obviously a lot more people on Facebook Live, it didn't feel intimate. It didn't feel as fun. And we can also just do so much more on the Twitch platform. And maybe now you can do some of those things on Facebook Live as well. But like, it was an easy way for us to marry our love of video games and Lions football, and an easy way for us to explore really a platform that's continuing to grow and grow and grow and grow. And yeah, I have some issues with Facebook as well. So the fact that not that I don't necessarily have some of the same concerns with Amazon, but you know what? In general, the Twitch community doesn't represent that kind of thinking, and we love everything that's happened on our Twitch thing. The fact that we've been able to do charity streams, the fact that we've been able to do karaoke, the fact that it's an additional source of income that we can kick back into the podcast to help, maybe host it on certain websites or get better software so that the audio can be better. Like, all the money that comes in here, I try to pump into as much as I can and spread it across the guys that are really.
Yeah, I know we're trying to get some. I want to do a new recording software for the season. So, Jeremy, I might have to open your pocketbook for that because. Well, I know we want to get off UberCon. We record on UberConference. I know we want to get off there and like go directly onto Discord, because then I think we have some fun with some call-in shows that way too.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest.
We have a Pride to Detroit Discord.
This outlay, it's a little janky. It's not the greatest. Yeah. I can admit it. Like, look at these things. I like that transition, but like, these outlays don't look very good. They're not very professional, and these boxes don't even fit the original boxes that UberConference gave. So. At some point, we're going to upgrade everything, and your support obviously helps with all of that.
Also, I do want to throw in one more thing about me. I'm sorry to make this about me, Jeremy. You know how egotistical I can be. For those checking out too, you might want to also check out twitch.tv/Lucha Dungeon. On Wednesdays, I run some D&D while wearing a mask. What'd you do?
Put it on. Nothing. I'm just hoping you were going to put it on.
Yeah, give me a second.
I was going to spam your link, but I don't have it handy.
Okay.
I'll spam it. There it is.
That's what I like. Yeah, no, I love doing Dungeons and Dragons. I know I was talking with some people, maybe start a YouTube channel at some point. It's kind of my side thing at this point. Oh, thank you. Holy crap, you spammed it.
Yep. That's what a good streamer does.
I was about to say, I think I'm at like 22 followers right there. It's brand new. I've almost killed these guys like about 18 times. Poor Zucifer, man. He's been like dropped to 0 hit points like 3 times already.
Miss Ruby just stopped by. I keep calling you Miss Ruby. Mrs. Ruby stopped by. She said, "Wait, I was looking away. What is this? What on earth is happening?" This is his side job as a luchador dungeon master on his Twitch channel, Lucha Dungeon, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m.
9 p.m. Eastern. Yeah,
9 p.m. Eastern.
I'm sorry, I'm a Pacific bug. So yeah, no, 9 p.m., 6 p.m. Pacific. It's not that big right now. I'm gonna be doing some YouTube stuff as like advice to people running Dungeons and Dragons. Which, look, it's having a big moment right now, but we do a lot of homebrew over there. It's kind of a testing. The group I have right now, they're all completely new to D&D. I'm going to get some veterans eventually. We're going to do another session, which I've been having a lot of fun with. Jeremy, I hope you will join us for that. I would love to have you on at some point. Day.
Maybe during the football season is not the best time, but...
No. I was going to say, I'm talking after the football season, man. We're going to be insane here. But yeah, like Wednesdays right now, I spend my time designing dungeons and try to kill people. And then that's weird taken out of context. Wow. But then I think later on, I'm going to start some YouTube stuff because, like, listen, Dungeons and Dragons having a moment right now. A lot of people are inside. I've been DMing sessions for D&D since I was 17. So,
and now you're like what, 45?
I'm going to be 34 in
Oh,
September.
that was close.
Oh, you were going for a joke. I see what's going. You're the same age as me.
I know I'm
What are you
older. I'm older by a couple months. Yeah.
But no, so I want to give some advice to people on there too. So we're going to be launching that YouTube when I have some time, hopefully before the season, because we're going to get really busy in the Lions season.
Miss Ruby, it's not a contest.
It's
right?
not a contest. It's not a contest. I understand millennials are aging rapidly, and we are about to hit our midlife crises. This is mine.
There you go. It involves a wrestling mat. I don't know what my midlife crisis. I think mine's just very internal. Like I'm wearing a wrestling mask underneath my face instead of on the outside. That's where my crisis is taking
the
place.
mask is this. You got to go back on TikTok for that kind of stuff.
No.
No, but I'm just saying. Remember that one woman that was on Vine that always had the things like, you're really imperfect if you're just,
Oh yeah, her like 2-line inspirational lady.
That's what I was thinking when you're talking about your mask being internal.
Oh, sometimes your insecurities are on the inside, but you need to bring them to the outside.
I did see someone put the 2 images of the album cover on Spotify to Ice Cream Paint Job next to the woman who lip synced it on Vine, and I heard the song all again.
I have no idea what those words you just said meant.
I'll show you the Vine and Slack later. You will know exactly what I mean.
All right, I think it's about time to wrap things up because we are ranting about things that don't matter. I just realized I think the recorder is still on, which I'm now going to turn off because none of this is going in the podcast. I think we should pay the raid forward, guys. And I know a bunch of you are already big Bearded Blevins fans. So do we want to just send y'all forward to the Blevins crew, see how he's doing after doing the what was the nut challenge it was called? The fire nut challenge where they just downing Scovilles like they were nothing last night and John almost died. How about we all raid him? What's he doing right now? Hold on, let me just make sure we're all ready. He's going to get mad at me for being... What? No, he's not. He supports me. You're saying he's going to be mad that he didn't raid him? You didn't raid him at first? Come on now. Playing some Fortnites. Ooh, solos. He's sweating it out in the solos. Death Nut, that's what it was. Let's go see him sweat it out in a totally different way tonight. And and raid him. And I'm going to act like a professional streamer that knows how to raid. There we go. Bearded Blevins. There we go. All right, guys. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all the good eggs that came from the Rubies. Appreciate you. Thanks for the crazy amount of bits we had. Definitely set some records for the stream tonight. And we'll see you again probably sometime soon for a video game stream and definitely next Monday to talk about more Detroit Lions training camp. Bye, everybody. I love you.
We off?
We are off.
Okay, cool. That was really fun.
That was fun.
I'm sorry that I have thrown my heavy weight onto this, but
it's all good.
Thank you. Come back, man. I am holding back some emotions right now. It's been a rough couple of weeks. So. This was some levity I needed. Thank you.